I know it's cool, but it's only light.
Before we get started, I'm going to delete this extra merge node that I noticed in our last video. So you just simply select it and delete it, and it'll automatically connect everything up properly. So next we're going to add materials to our floor and our sign that we created in our previous video. To do that, we're going to use our NetworkMaterialCreate node. So over the node graph, you're going to tab NetworkMaterialCreate, grab your node. We're going to connect them up. Notice a pattern. We create it, we connect it. So we're going to shift select the two items, hit M for merge, grab your pipe that's going into the current merge, put it into the new merge, and line up your nodes. Hit green for attributes, and we're in our NetworkMaterialCreate node. First thing we're going to do is going to change the name, and this is going to be our sign and floor network material group. Name your location. So currently it's in root and materials, and you'll see the network material right there. I'm going to actually add another layer and call this set to keep things a little bit more organized. We're going to click on our network material. We're going to rename. This is going to be our LVO sign, and then I do mat to keep things organized. So that's our material. Then we are going to go into our material group to get into our shading node network. To do that, if you notice, if you zoom in, you'll see this little arrow going in. That's what we want to click on. And we will be inside the Katana shading node network. This shading node network is essentially the same thing or very similar to Hypershade in Maya. Hovering over our node graph, we're going to hit tab, and we're going to do an Arnold shading node. So this is our first node that we're going to add, and this is where we're going to put in, whether you want to put in an image, standard surface, or any kind of shading node. First thing you want to do is connect it up. We're going to connect it up to the blue Arnold surface. This output area is essentially the blue node that you see in Hypershade that's connected to the shading node. Hit green for attributes, change the name. This is going to be our LVO sign, and I have a habit of saying what it is from my Maya days. So AI standard surface. It'll automatically change the name. Go into your node. You can either scroll to find what node type you like, or you can simply type it in and it'll give you a short list. We want a standard surface, and it's going to give you all your basic parameters, your base, your specular, transmission, emission. Okay, for my base for this particular material, I want it to 0. I want my specular to 0. And I want my emission to be a specific color, because it's going to be our red LVO sign. And you can do RGB, TML, or HSV for colors, whichever you wish. Or if you have a specific color combination, you can type it in here or paste it in. All right, now we have those things set up. We do not have our mask attached as yet. So now we're going to attach our mask. Same thing, tab, Arnold shading node, drop it in. Now this one we're not going to hook up yet, only because we need something in the drop down. So we're going to go green for attributes, change our name, and this is going to be our LVO sign mask, and it's going to be an image. File, changes it here, node type, again, either you can scroll, or if you know the name, we're attaching an image. We're going to do a drop down on file to grab our file name, drop down to browse, go to where your file or your mask or your image is. Mine's in my source images. Now, With Katana, you need to use a TX file. So if you have a JPEG or TIFF or EXR or any of the sort, you need to convert it to a TX file. You can either do this in Maya pretty easily if you want to open Maya, or there is a script that you can add to Katana, which we will discuss in a later video. So you gotta love learning. What I found out is that instead of having to go into Maya or writing a script to automatically generate TXs, my friend Olu had told me about a simple way to convert files to TX. So if you cancel out this, you go back to your node graph, you go into Arnold Global Settings, and in Texture System, pull the drop down, there's a little box that you can tick, Texture Auto Generate TX. Go figure. If you tick Texture Use Existing TX also, that'll automatically use those TX files that you just recently converted. So you go back into your node shading graph, click green for attributes, go back into file name, and then hit browse. You can find your files, and if you hit a TIFF file or a PNG file, it'll automatically convert it for you. Mine's already converted, so I'm going to hit TX, hit accept, and we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. Now you notice there's more out buttons. We want our out either RG or E into our emission. Drop down your emission, plug it in, and you're now set up for your LVO sign. So to add another material to another piece of geo, you're going to use this little back button to get to our initial node graph so that we can do our attributes for our network material group. To add another material to our network, you're going to hit the plus button, add network material, click to change the name. This is going to be our floor sign reflection material. All right, then we're going to go back into the network. We're going to hover over our node graph, Arnold shading node, and if you notice, we have our LVO sign here, and we have our floor sign reflection down here. So we're going to connect it up, hit green for attributes, going to change the name, this is going to be a standard surface, AISS, node type, standard surface. Your parameters just as before. For this one, I'm going to change it to 0 on my base, 1 on my specular with a 0.3 roughness, and I believe that's it. All right, and that's my floor underneath, directly underneath the sign. Now I have one more material to add. So again, we're going to go back. We're going to hit green for attributes, plus sign to add another material, click to change the name. This is going to be my floor under LVO material. We're going to go back into the shading node network, tab, Arnold shading node. Again, it appears here, so now we have all three. You can close them up to make it smaller. Click on the 3 bars to shorten everything up, make everything nice and neat. Bring your shader up here. Out to Arnold. Green for attributes. Change the name. Floor. Under. LVO. AISS. Automatically change. Node type is going to be, again, standard surface. My base is this time is going to be 1. That's fine. Specular is going to be 0. And we are set with our materials. So if we go back to our network, our node graph, we will see everything set up. Now, if you render right now, nothing's going to happen because these aren't assigned anything. You have set up your materials, but nothing has been assigned. You haven't assigned it to any geo. And that is what we're going to do next.
Oh, I know why you're chasing all the headlights. Oh, 'cause you're always trying to